We have to think about this because if we do not, they're certainly not going to solve this problem for us. You know, this is a group of people that actually swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and to represent all of us. It's an oath they take before they get seated in that chamber of theirs. And there are people that are in that chamber that say, we don't have to pass anything. We don't have to pass anything constitutional. That's up for the justices to decide. Baloney it is. Every single one of those people in those chambers is an officer of the Bill of Rights. The first thing they should think about before they do any kind of legislation whatsoever is to determine whether or not what they're doing is constitutionally compliant. If it is not, it should never get out of a committee, ever. It should never get out of committee. Because what we have now is we have this self-righteous crap being floated all over America from the very last people that have any kind of standing in that conversation. Seriously? You've got a United States government that has a sexual harassment slush fund that we pay for. That's why you haven't heard about sexual harassment claims on Capitol Hill. That's why none of these people are losing their jobs. Because everything's taken care of behind the scenes, very, very quietly with non-disclosure agreements signed. And yes, we pay the settlement fees. We pay it. My friends, if we don't fix this, it's going to get us. Because eventually what's going to end up happening is that we, the people of the United States, will no longer have anything to do with the people that actually are elected, quote unquote, to these offices. Because the mainstream media is going to do that for us. The mainstream media and all these politicians are going to decide who their colleagues are based on whatever self-righteous garbage they feel like they can foist on us at the time. They tried to do it with President Obama. They tried to disenfranchise anybody who thought that Donald Trump would have any chance whatsoever to be the president. Now they're trying to do it with Judge Roy Moore. What makes this show different than other talk shows is we don't take our eyes off the ball. You know what they're reporting right now? Let's see. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is floating the idea that Attorney General Jeff Sessions would be a replacement for Roy Moore as the Alabama senator being elected in a couple of weeks here. He brought up the idea last night at the Wall Street Journal CEO Council's annual meeting in Washington, proposing Sessions as a write-in candidate. It's none of his business. It's none of his business who's going to be the candidate, who's going to be the senator from the state of Alabama. It's none of his business. This is good. I really like this. Yeah, The Atlantic magazine, The Atlantic is reporting that Roy Moore is testing the limits of Steve Bannon's season of war. Yeah, the story for The Atlantic is, well, Steve Bannon wants to replace some of these moderate senators like Luther Strange with people like Roy Moore. Well, here's Roy Moore, and Roy Moore is making Steve Bannon look bad. So The Atlantic says, hey, we can trade on this. By the way, they're not the only ones. The people of CNN doing that as well. So here we are. All kinds of garbage flying around with Roy Moore's name on it. But here's the real point of it all. The point of it all is that they are running this guy off the road on innuendo. There are no court cases. There are no charges, no indictments, nothing. That's not how we do business in America. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right. Sounding good. Hey, man, do you think you might want to go to the president? He's about to go live.
The president, yes. What's going on with that? What's he doing?
We hit pause.
I don't know. He's about to make some kind of announcement today or something.
Do we have any idea what it is?
No idea.
He's just showing up. So he's already there. So in other words, you guys are recording it while it's being paused and right.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. It's good. You just hit record. Right now, it's just talking about how he's came back from Asia.
Okay, so he's basically talking about his Asia trip. Is that correct? He's probably got some other things he wants to talk about. Let's join the president. Let's join the president here. Are you going to start at the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I got it paused. Here, we're back in 10 seconds.
Okay, I'm ready.
Just let me know. Yeah. We'll go to it whenever you're ready, man.
You are listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network. By the way, you can go to usaradionetwork.com. I think that's what it is. Let me see. usaradio.com. It's just usaradio.com. And you can stream the Wells Report. So you can do that now. That's good to know. Speaking of good to know, the President of the United States just showed up. I don't know where is he. Is he in the press room or the East room, the White House? Where is he talking, guys? Do you know?
East room.
The East room at the White House. He's got something to say to us. Let's join the President of the United States.
Last night, I returned from a historic 12-day trip to Asia. This journey took us to 5 nations to meet with dozens of foreign leaders participate in 3 formal state visits, and attend 3 key regional summits. It was the longest visit to the region by an American president in more than a quarter of a century. Everywhere we went, our foreign hosts greeted the American delegation, myself included, with incredible warmth, hospitality, and most importantly, respect. And this great respect showed very well our country is further evidence that America's renewed confidence and standing in the world has never been stronger than it is right now. When we are confident in ourselves, our strength, our flag, our history, our values, other nations are confident in us. And when we treat our citizens with the respect they deserve, other countries treat America with the respect that our country so richly deserves. During our travels, this is exactly what the world saw: a strong, proud, and confident America. Today, I want to update the American people on the tremendous success of this trip and the progress we've made to advance American security and prosperity throughout the year. When I came into office, our country was faced with a series of growing dangers. These threats included rogue regimes pursuing deadly weapons, foreign powers challenging America's influence, the spread of the murderous terror group ISIS, and years of unfair trade practices that had dangerously depleted our manufacturing base and wiped out millions and millions of middle-class jobs. The challenges were inherited, and these products really showed what previous mistakes were made over many years and even decades by other administrations. Some of these mistakes were born of indifference and neglect, others from naive thinking and misguided judgment. In some cases, the negative influence of partisan politics and special interests was to blame. But the one common thread behind all of these problems was a failure to protect and promote the interests of the American people and American workers. Upon my inauguration, I pledged that we would rebuild America, restore its economic strength, and defend its national security. With this goal in mind, I vowed that we would reaffirm old alliances and form new friendships in pursuit of shared goals. Above all, I swore that in every decision, with every action, I would put the best interests of the American people first. Over the past 10 months, traveling across the globe and meeting with world leaders, that is exactly what I have done. Earlier this year in Saudi Arabia, I spoke to the leaders of more than 50 Arab and Muslim nations about our strategy to defeat terrorists by stripping them of financing, territory, and ideological support. And I urge the leaders to drive out the terrorists and extremists from their societies. Since that time, we have dealt ISIS one crushing defeat after another. In Israel, I reaffirmed the unbreakable bond between America and the Jewish state, and I met with leaders of the Palestinian Authority and initiated an effort to facilitate lasting peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. In Brussels, I urged our NATO allies to do more to strengthen our crucial alliance and set the stage for significant increases in member contributions. Billions and billions of dollars are pouring in because of that initiative. NATO, believe me, is very happy with Donald Trump and what I did. In Warsaw, I declared to the world America's resolve to preserve and protect Western civilization and the values we hold so dear. In Rome, Sicily, Hamburg, and Paris, I strengthened our friendships with key allies to promote our shared interests of security and prosperity. In September, at the United Nations General Assembly in New York, I urged that the nations of the world join in confronting rogue regimes that threaten humanity and laid out a model for international cooperation grounded in respect for sovereignty and the responsibilities that come with it. On each trip, I have worked to advance American interests and leadership in the world. And to each of these places, I have carried our vision for a better, a vision for something stronger and sovereign, so important, sovereign and independent nations rooted in their histories, confident in their destinies, and cooperating together to advance their security, prosperity, and the noble cause of peace. It was this same vision that I carried to Asia 2 weeks ago. And it was this same commitment to you, the American people, that was always at the forefront of my mind and my thinking. Our trip was defined by 3 core goals. First, to unite the world against the nuclear menace posed by the North Korean regime, a threat that has increased steadily through many administrations and now requires urgent action. Second, to strengthen America's alliances and economic partnerships in a free and open Indo-Pacific, made up of thriving independent nations respectful of other countries and their own citizens, and safe from foreign domination and economic servitude. And third, to finally, after many years, insist on fair and reciprocal trade. Fair and reciprocal trade. So important. These 2 words, fairness and reciprocity, are an open invitation to every country that seeks to do business with the United States. And they are a firm warning to every country that cheats, breaks the rules, and engages in economic aggression like they've been doing in the past, especially in the recent past. That is why we have almost an $800 billion a year trade deficit with other nations. Unacceptable. We are going to start whittling that down, and as fast as possible. With these goals, it was my profound honor to travel on this journey as your representative. I explained to all of the world leaders and across Asia how well the United States is doing. Economic growth has been over 3% the last 2 quarters and is going higher. Unemployment is at its lowest level in 17 years. The stock market has gained trillions of dollars in value since my election and has reached record highs. We are massively increasing our military budget to historic levels. The House has just passed a nearly $700 billion defense package, and it could not come at a better time for our nation. Once again, our country is optimistic about the future, confident in our values, and proud of our history and a role in the world. I want to thank every citizen of this country for the part you have played in making this great American comeback possible. In Asia, our message was clear and well received. America is here to compete, to do business, and to defend our values and our security. We began our trip in Hawaii to pay our respects to brave American service members at Pearl Harbor and the United States Pacific Command, the guardian of our security and freedom across the Indo-Pacific region. As our country prepared to observe Veterans Day, we remembered the incredible sacrifices and courage of all of the veterans whose service has preserved our liberty and a way of life that is very special. We also thanked military families for their support for our brave servicemen and women. From Hawaii, we traveled to Japan, a crucial U.S. ally and partner in the region. Upon landing in Japan, my first act was to thank the American service members and Japanese self-defense forces who personify the strength of our enduring alliance. Prime Minister Abe and I agreed on our absolute determination to remain united to achieve the goal of denuclearize North Korea. Shortly following our visit, Japan announced additional sanctions on 35 North Korean entities and individuals. Japan also committed to shouldering more of the burden of our common defense by reimbursing costs borne by American taxpayers, as well as by making deep investments in Japan's own military. This will include purchases of U.S. advanced capabilities, from jet fighters to missile defense, systems worth many, many billions of dollars, and jobs for the American worker. Prime Minister and I also discussed ways we can deepen our trade relationship based on the core principles of fairness and reciprocity. I am pleased that since January of this year, Japanese companies have announced investments in the United States worth more than $8 billion, 17,000 jobs. Thank you. Oh, they don't have water. That's okay. But okay. Oh.
The President of the United States from the East Room of the White House looking for a bit of water in the middle of his speech. You're listening to the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
Japanese manufacturers, Toyota and Mazda, announced that they will be opening a new plant in the United States that will create 4,000 jobs. We also signed agreements between our nations to enhance infrastructure development, increase access to affordable energy, and advance our foreign policy goals through economic investment. From Japan, we traveled to another key American ally in Asia, the Republic of Korea. My official state visit to South Korea was the first by an American president in 25 years. Speaking before the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, I spoke the truth about the evil crimes of the North Korean regime, and I made clear that we will not allow this twisted dictatorship to hold the world hostage to nuclear blackmail. I called on every nation, including China and Russia, to unite in isolating the North Korean regime, cutting off all ties of trade and commerce until it stops its dangerous provocation on, and this is the whole key to what we're doing, on denuclearization. We have to denuclearize North Korea. We have ended the failed strategy of strategic patience, and as a result, we have already seen important progress, including tough new sanctions from the UN Council. We have a Security Council that has been with us and just about with us from the beginning. South Korea agreed to harmonize sanctions and joined the United States in sanctioning additional rogue actors whose funds have helped North Korea and North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. It's unacceptable to us. The United States welcomed the decision of President Moon to remove the payload restrictions on missiles to combat the North Korean threat. And together we reaffirmed our commitment to a campaign of maximum pressure. Like Japan, South Korea is increasing its defense contributions. During our meetings, President Moon acknowledged his desire for equitable cost sharing for the United States military forces stationed in South Korea. And I visited soldiers at Camp Humphreys, a brand new joint American-South Korean base paid for almost entirely by the South Korean government.
You are listening to the Wells Report. That is the President of the United States. He is speaking from the East Room of the White House. Apparently he got some water. And we're going to rejoin him right where he left off there as we continue our broadcast today. You're listening to the Wells Report. We found out just moments ago that the president had intended to address the nation. And because this is a news show, first and foremost, the Wells Report stops for the president. And we broadcast those speeches just like this one. Like I said, we will return to what he has to say as he summarizes his triumphant Asian trip and continues to talk about the things that got him elected to be the president of the United States. Things like trade deals that work for everyone, not just the people we're dealing with. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right, awesome, man.
That is some slick radio right there, boys. Well done.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the only thing we're missing here is A, when did we find out he was going to do that? You know, this is where John David needs an executive producer that he doesn't have.
Oh, okay.
See, that's where that happened. See, that's
Yeah.
on me. That's on this side of the microphone over here. So
Yeah, I forgot that he said he didn't do anything today until I saw the little box that said awaiting the president.
yeah, and I didn't see that either. What box did you see that? Okay.
It was when Shepard Smith was talking. There was a little
I
box
see.
showing the podium.
Yeah. I've got to get my television set up here. I have to get my TV set up. I have two televisions right within the right in my view right here, and I've got to get Spectrum or Time Warner to come in here and put CNN on one and Fox News on the other one. Then I can get MSNBC on one down there and whatever. I guess USA News or One News or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That new one.
News.
Yeah, One American News. Yeah, because they're doing some good work.
I would have thought you had one up the way you came in when he was taking the drink of water.
Well, I was just listening to what he had to say. I was
Yeah,
listening to him, and he he obviously brought some water.
Yeah.
Because I knew he was getting dry. I was sitting there going, yeah, he needs some water, and I just put two and two together.
Yeah.
So
Well, awesome.
So is Chris there?
Yeah, he's here. You want to talk to him?
Yeah, I just want to ask him a question. Just you know.
Hey, Chris.
Ow! God dang
He
it!
wants to ask you a question.
Do da do 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 da do da.
God. What are
Hello.
you doing with this mic?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm slamming the mic around like a crazy man. I don't know. I just actually I
no,
hit my
it's not
ring.
you. No,
Oh.
Tom has this mic all weird.
Tom
So-
has the mic all weird.
Yeah, I'm not in the normal studio.
So you're in the talk studio.
Yes.
That's cool. All
Yes.
right. So here's what I'm looking for here. When do I send a note to the powers that be at the network to put a Wells Report card up on the website? When do I do that?
I know it's being worked on.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Janet's already on that.
Okay, then I just need to shut the hell up, right?
Yeah, but just I'll keep on it, for you. So
Yeah, that would be really,
One up
really
for-
nice.
I want one up for you. I want one up for Charlie.
You want up for Charlie? I want one up for Charlie too.
Why do you make fun of the accent?
I don't
That
know.
hurts.
I just want somebody to be able to take care of Charlie.
Hey, sorry we can't all be there from Texas.
That's not the
we're
way we
smart
talk.
as far as we're tongue tied, whereas the people there are as smart as the armadillo crap.
Well, just hush now. Now you're pissing me off now. Oh, by the way, don't stop the president until I start talking.
Mike,
Oh, okay.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah.
Don't start him until you
Yeah, don't stop him until I was going to wait. I mean,
Oh, okay, I got
you clipped him really, really well, but I wasn't, I want to sort of just
Gotcha.
sort of
hey,
kind of
Mike,
overlap
Mike,
him.
It's Rusty. I'm back in my old studio.
God.
No, I got you. I just thought I'd end him
I'll
on
stay on
the
that for
statement, but yeah, okay. So keep him playing until you say something.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay, got
Yeah, just keep him playing until I roll over him. You are listening to the Wells Report. Let's get back to the President of the United States live from the East Room of the White House on the USA Radio Network.
Base, I discussed with the United States and South Korean military leaders both military options and readiness to respond to North Korean provocation or offensive actions. During our visit, President Moon and I also discussed America's commitment to reducing our trade deficit with South Korea. At my discretion and direction, we are currently renegotiating the disastrous U.S.-Korea trade agreement signed under the previous administration. It has been a disaster for the United States. Last week, 42 South Korean companies announced their intent to invest in projects worth more than $17 billion in the United States, and 24 companies announced plans to purchase $58 billion in American goods and services. From South Korea, Melania and I traveled to China, where, as in Japan and South Korea, we were greatly honored by the splendor of our reception. Our trip included the first official dinner held for a foreign leader in the Forbidden City since the founding of the modern China, where we enjoyed a very productive evening hosted by President Xi and his wonderful wife, Madame Peng. During our visit, President Xi pledged to faithfully implement United Nations Security Council resolutions on North Korea and to use his great economic influence over the regime to achieve our common goal of a denuclearized Korean Peninsula. President Xi recognizes that a nuclear North Korea is a grave threat to China, and we agree that we would not accept a so-called freeze-for-freeze agreement like those that have consistently failed in the past. We made that time is running out, and we made it clear, and all options remain on the table. I also had a very candid conversation with President Xi about the need to reduce our staggering trade deficit with China and for our trading relationship to be conducted on a truly fair and equitable basis. We can no longer tolerate unfair trading practices that steal American jobs, wealth, and intellectual property. The days of the United States being taken advantage of are over. In China, we also announced $250 billion worth in trade investment deals that will create jobs in the United States. From China, I flew to the city of Da Nang in Vietnam to attend the leaders' meeting for APEC, Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. There, I spoke to a major gathering of business leaders where I reminded the world of America's historic role in the Pacific as a force for freedom and for peace. Standing on this proud history, I offered our vision for robust trading relationships in which Indo-Pacific nations can all prosper and grow together. I announced that the United States is ready to make bilateral trade deals with any nation in the region that wants to be our partner in fair and reciprocal trade. We will never again turn a blind eye to trading abuses, to cheating, economic aggression, or anything else from countries that profess a belief in open trade but do not follow the rules or live by its principles themselves. No international trading organization can function if members are allowed to exploit the openness of others for unfair economic gain. Trade abuses harm the United States and its workers, but no more.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells, the President of the United States, speaking live from the East Room of the White House. More of that speech will be heard at the top and bottom of the hour with USA Radio News. That'll be coming up as we continue into the afternoon here on the Wells Report. Coming up in just a little bit. What are we going to do about the simple case of American free enterprise and the press? More about that coming up as we continue on the USA Radio Network.
All right, man. Sounding good.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so we're done with him for now, right?
Yeah, we're done with him.
All right, awesome.
We are done with him.
All right, cool. I'm gonna go heat up part of my burrito while
I am going to go. I'm glad you said that because I am going to go put some cream in my coffee.
Awesome.
And I shall be back.
All right, man. I'll be here.
Well, alrighty then. Check for bulletins. Bulletin.
Hey man, it's
Yep.
Mike.
Yes.
Hey man, it's Mike. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
No, it's Mike, man. So, what about the bulletin?
It's Mike, man. He's more like Elvis.
Yeah, you know what?
More like Elvis.
Hold on, he does sound like Elvis.
More like Elvis. You gotta.
Sounds like you two are hitting it off.
We're doing fine.
Good.
Yeah, he's doing fine. He's a good operator. I appreciate it.
No, the guy knows sound better than I do by any stretch, and that's being serious. So, because he's worked in sound for a long time.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, I'm a radio guy, and I consider myself fairly good at this. But as far as overall sound, he can hear stuff I can't. So, and that's a real heartfelt compliment. So, hey man, that Roy Moore, he looked at me inappropriately, man.
He looked at exactly.
Yeah, man. I wish he would have looked at me with a glass eye. At least I wouldn't have felt as objectified, man. He looked at me too. But I had it coming. I asked for it. All right. I'm going to give you Mike's just heating up something real quick. He'll be here in a minute, less than that. So Mike will be right back is what I'm telling you.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. So funny.
All right, I'm back.
That's cool. You know what's been interesting? When
that?
yeah. When I switched when I switched from 660 to 1160, people assumed that I was still on the same time. That's been the hardest thing to figure out. I mean, for them to get that I'm on from 2 until 5 now.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's really weird.
I heard Chris in here imitating me, man.
Yeah, well, I was trying to help him out.
Whenever they're imitating me, they always go, "Hey man, hey man." That's how they say it. I don't sound like that. I don't even say "Hey man," or maybe I do. I don't know. You got 1 minute, man.
Thank you, sir.
Here we go.
North to south, coast to coast, this is the Wells Report. Hi, my name is John David Wells. I want to thank you for joining us today. You can do so anytime you choose at 844-972. Make that 927-6691. That's 844-927-6691. Something interesting happened today. I was kind of surprised when they came up with it, but the Republicans on Capitol Hill found themselves in a position where they believe they might be able to not just pass tax reform, but also pass at least a repeal of the Obamacare individual mandate at the same time. Now, I don't know that that's going to work because it may cost them some Democrat support. But remember, this is being done through reconciliation, through budget reconciliation. If indeed it can be done through budget reconciliation, the Republicans only need 51 votes. And of course, then all you have to worry about is John McCain. But is that interesting? Can you believe that Republicans might actually hit a political home run by repealing the Obamacare individual mandate and passing tax reform at the same time? I think that would be very, very cool. Telephone number is 844-927-6691. Can Republicans actually hit a political home run by repealing the Obamacare individual mandate and passing tax reform at the same time? Amazing. I would not think that the Republicans would be capable of that. I mean, you watch the Republicans for years and you wonder, it's amazing that these guys are still in office at all. It's amazing that there's even a party. And the reason that it's so amazing that there is even a party is because they keep screwing up. They find ever more interesting ways to screw up. So here's the latest news. Senate Republicans plan to include a repeal of the individual mandate, a key piece of the Affordable Care Act, in tax reform efforts. It's a move that dramatically raises the stakes for President Donald Trump and congressional Republicans, who are still looking for a single substantial legislative accomplishment to deliver to the American people this year. For Republicans, the benefits are tempting. If they can pull it off, it's a 2-for-1 victory. They will have overhauled the U.S. tax code and taken a bite out of former President Barack Obama's signature legislative achievement. Even if it falls short of the root and branch healthcare repeal many had vowed to see through. But if they fail, Republicans will enter the midterm election year with a muddled message, without a victory on tax reform, and having spent a year's worth of time trying and repeatedly failing to dismantle Obamacare with nothing to show for it but bad headlines. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about those, quote, bad headlines, unquote. Obamacare was built to make it nearly impossible to get rid of. This is something that has to be fixed at some point in our future. What has to happen is that the people of the United States have to demand from our elective employees that what they do is that they stop any kind of multi-generational tax and spend scheme or bill. In other words, any Congress can only legislate within the next 30-year period. There has to be a way to sunset some of these really bad ideas. Social Security, for example, helped win the Second World War. Make no mistake about it. Without Social Security, we may not have won the Second World War. You just can't buy or build that many Fletcher-class destroyers without enough money to do it. And that's what Social Security was for. Social Security was created by FDR to come up with a way of getting the actual industrial war effort started. Many people think that the Second World War was won on VE Day or VJ Day when the actual papers got signed. The Second World War was won much earlier than that. It was won when American industrial output was far greater than the capability for our enemies to destroy ships and planes and so on and so on. As soon as America could outperform the destructive efforts of our enemies, the war was over. And that's exactly what happened. And what got it started was Social Security. But it was a multi-generational thing that was actually never supposed to be. What it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be something that was very temporary. But politicians realized just how valuable this could be. This goes back to the old idea that once you get a tax levied, it's almost impossible to repeal. We're seeing how impossible it is right this minute. This tax rollback, if it gets passed, will be only the second one I've seen in my lifetime. And that's well longer than 50 years. So remember, but we have to do something about these multi-generational government projects like Social Security. That's ridiculous. Look at the behemoth that Social Security has turned into. Look at the behemoth that Medicare has turned into. We can't do these things. It's taxation without representation. My children had nothing to do. I had nothing to do with Social Security. I wasn't represented in Congress when Social Security was passed. Before I had ever drawn a paycheck, 8% of my money was already spoken for. I didn't have anything to do with that. That's ridiculous. This must end. This has got to stop. And Obamacare was written to be perpetual. It was written to be impossible to understand and impossible to get rid of. And that is without the political component. We, the people of the United States, are going to have to literally stand on the throats of Republicans to get this darn thing repealed. But we must do it. This government does not have anything close to the competence necessary, the competence required to be able to do the job that they desperately want to do. And if you don't believe me, just go ask a dead veteran. It'll be a tough conversation, but just go ask to ask a dead veteran who was waiting on the VA to make sure that he was okay. 309,000 of them dead. I'm sorry. I just don't want the government in the healthcare industry because they're lousy at it. And so here we are, watching the Republicans do their best to eviscerate Obamacare. If you can't pay for it, you don't have a law. And this individual mandate thing, which is where you actually are punished for not purchasing something that the government demands that you buy. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Well, would you say the same thing about automobile insurance? Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Well, if people didn't have to buy automobile insurance, it'd be so expensive nobody could pay for it. Exactly. Look at what automobile insurance has gotten us. I can't use my own cell phone in my own car. I have to use my seatbelts. Have to. They're mine. I can use them or not, depending on what I feel like. Why is it that my car will record the last 30 seconds of its life without my permission? And why is it that somebody can download that information in order to use it? That's me testifying against myself. Why doesn't that violate the Fifth Amendment? All of these things are current in cars right this moment. By the way, in case you're wondering, no, I don't want a car that'll stop itself. Don't want a car that'll park itself. If I want a car that will stop itself and park itself, I'll hire a chauffeur. This whole thing just plain stinks. I'm not interested in the government micromanaging my behavior. It's none of the government's business. And besides, the government of the United States telling other adults what to do? Is there something faintly ridiculous about that? The answer is yeah. Can Republicans hit a political home run and repeal Obamacare, the individual mandate, and pass tax reform at the same time? 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. Would you be impressed if they could actually do it? I know I would be. I'd be incredibly impressed if they could do it. I think that'd be very, very cool. Just think of that. Think of that for just a moment. The government of the United States actually doing something good. Man. There is another question that I'd like to ask. If the Republicans actually can pull this daily double out of their hats, will President Trump get any of the credit? I don't know. And by the way, there is something else I want to do. There is something else I want to deal with here. I am not real especially pleased with the fact that this is turning into an us and them kind of situation. I am not interested in the Republican Party passing a bill that takes a bite out of former President Barack Obama's signature legislative achievement. Now, do I want Obamacare to survive? No. I want Obamacare to be gone. But I don't want it to be cast in the idea of a defeat of President Obama. I want it to be cast in the light of the American people thought better of that decision. I believe that President Obama was trying to do something that he thought was important for the nation. I don't think we need to get into the pernicious tit for tat, legislative defeat, so on and so on. Because if we get into that game, the Democrats are going to start playing it with Donald Trump. And we, the people of the United States, Republican or Democrat, need this president to succeed. We can vote for him or not coming up in 2020, but what I will tell you is we want this president to succeed because we want the country to move forward. I like the economic growth idea. I like the fact that the government's getting smaller. That's what we need. You're listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network.
All right. So it said we got Roy Moore's doing a press conference at 3.
Let's cover that too. Stand by. Hey, buddy.
You get to talk and talk and talk?
I do. I did.
Pay for this?
Yeah. No, they pay me.
All right, we're back in 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, my friend. Now we're talking about this press conference at the top of the hour. You were saying 3:00 your time, correct?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll let you know when it comes up. All right, here we go.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. Republican lawmakers are trying to figure out a way to tie the Obamacare individual mandate into the tax bill. This is a 2-for-1 thing that is, I just think is just, it's just incredibly fortuitous. Eliminating the individual mandate would give just about everybody an additional $338 billion. Now, I think that's interesting, and it's something that you need to pay attention to. Remember, when you spend money, it's not there for government taxation. In other words, if you get rid of, say, for example, whatever it is, whatever the individual mandate for yours was, that means that's money you cannot spend that the government can tax for that transaction. And what that means is that means the government actually loses money. When you lower taxes in a macroeconomic environment, something like an economy as big as the United States, when you actually cut taxes to a point, you can get so far that it doesn't work. But when you cut taxes to a point, the government gets more money. It's one of the basic ideas of economics that politics sets aside for the sake of another idea, which is to keep people from having enough money to be able to challenge the status quo. And that's something that this government has seen, as we have seen it try to do. We've seen it try to cost us money so that indeed we can't send our kids to school, for example, or we can't do something that would make many of us would run for office if it was less expensive. So once again, taxes not only theoretically raise money for the government, but taxes also have an additional economic effect on the people. And this government, like I keep saying, this government is not worthy of having the kind of power it aspires to. It's just not competent enough. No government is. No government is. $4 million fewer people would be covered in the first year the repeal would take effect. But that's okay because they don't want to be covered to begin with. Remember, what they're not keeping in mind is when it comes to the individual mandate, how many people just took the fine? It was $99. It would be much more expensive. It would be much more expensive in the future. That's why it's important to roll it back. Repealing the mandate would remove the stick that Obamacare uses to prod younger and healthier Americans to sign up for coverage. See, this is the thing that we have to figure out, that has to get figured out and has to pass the word to just about everybody. Most young people don't use medical insurance. They don't use medical insurance at all. And consequently, they don't use medical insurance, so they have to pay for people that do. It's kind of a Ponzi scheme. We kind of keep setting that up. We kind of keep setting it up so that people who don't necessarily get anything out of the deal pay for people that do get something out of the deal. And that's got to stop. It's got to stop in this nation immediately. If the government needs money, if it needs extra money, there's a way to do it. It's not Social Security. Social Security is the worst investment in this nation. The average benefit. The average benefit pays off at about 1.5% of your original investment. It's the worst. It's the worst investment in America. If the government needs extra money, fine. Here's what they do: take my 8% that you are putting into Social Security and put it into Treasury bonds. The people still get the money. The government still gets the money. They just have to pay it back, which means that there's a mechanism in place that keeps the government from screwing up. There's another little mechanism that we ought to put in there too. I'll tell you what that is after the bottom of the hour break. You're listening to the Wells Report, and I sure appreciate it. Tell your friends about this radio broadcast. We're doing important work. This is the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
All right.
Yeah, just put it upside down on my desk, and I will save it until tomorrow, and then I will take it down there to him. John, thank you. Huh? I'm great, man. I am great. Just please lock the door on your way out. Which would be cool. All right, my friend.
All right.
No. All you got to do is pull it closed and then push the lock button. That's all you got to do.
All right, so I'll pause it, or I'll keep it paused when the Roy Moore thing comes on, and I'll let you know. So you're back in 1 minute. All right, you got 30 seconds.
Hello?
Hello.
All right, so what we have to figure out now is we're going to have to pick up the press conference with Judge Roy Moore.
Yeah, I'll just pause it when it comes on, and I'll let you know when it's there.
Okay, cool deal. Yeah, and if let me see, how do I do this?
Here you go. You're coming back.
All right.
All right.
Okay. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. We just got word that Judge Roy Moore is going to hold a press conference at the top of the hour. We will carry a substantial portion of that, if not all of that, coming up here on the Wells Report. Don't know what the judge is going to discuss. We don't know whether he is going to reiterate that he is going to stay in the race to the bitter end, or whether or not he's going to go ahead and cash in his chips and walk away. We do not know what Judge Roy Moore is going to say at the top of the hour, but we will indeed carry his press conference live on the Wells Report on this USA radio network. So please stay put, and we'll have that information for you. We'll have that for you coming up. One of the things we deal with in the United States is the reality that in order for us to protect ourselves from an oppressive government, the founding fathers had to come up with a way to allow us to defend ourselves against themselves. The thing about the political minds of the 18th century that settled the governmental ideologies of this nation, all of those ideas were based on mistakes that had happened before in Europe and other places. The concepts of democracy, the concepts of a republic, the concepts of all of the things that we pursue in this country were long known by the framers of this country. They also knew what the abuses were. They also knew that an oppressive government would soon destroy the nation that it theoretically tried to govern. And so it gave us an opportunity to be able to stop a government from behaving in that oppressive a way. Now, that does mean that on a whim, you can go down to some gun store somewhere in the United States, put down money, and under certain circumstances, walk away with a weapon that moment. I have a concealed weapons permit. I have gone ahead and allowed the state to look into my background, and what they have found was not enough for them to be concerned about me having a concealed weapon on my person at any time. One of the benefits of that is being able to walk into a store and purchase a weapon that day. I can walk right in. There's a wonderful gun store down the road. It's called DFW Gun Range. I can leave this studio and have a brand new pistol in my possession in the time it takes to purchase it. Many people think that that is dangerous. It is not as dangerous as a government out of control. And when I say out of control, I mean out of control of we, the people of the United States. Governments cannot control themselves. Just look at one. Weapons are everywhere. There are millions upon millions upon millions of them, and some of them are not owned by people who are as stable as maybe you and I are. That being said, A right to bear arms is granted to everyone in this nation, every American citizen in this nation. The right to bear arms is inviolable, unalienable, if you will. Which means that occasionally someone is either going to break the law or someone is going to lose his mind and with a completely legal firearm go out and hurt people. A gunman tried to break into a remote Northern California elementary school, but officials say the quick action of school officials saved countless lives and children. The building went into an immediate lockdown. A teacher rushed to block a classroom door with a computer. Students ducked under their desks. Those responses have become the new normal as schools are forced to adapt to the idea of an active shooter. Speaking of which, a portrait of a violent and crazed man began to emerge late yesterday, hours after he allegedly killed 4 people and wounded 10 others in rural Tehama County before dying at the hands of justice. At least one person living near Kevin Jansen Neal, 44 years of age, the man suspected of being a mass killer, described the hell of having Neal as a neighbor, and court documents reveal the alleged violent attack in January against a woman authorities said is one of the people killed in the rampage yesterday. Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Phil Johnston said Neal earlier this year stabbed the woman whom he did not name. Prosecutors allege Neal attacked her and robbed another woman in the January 31st incident, according to court documents. A criminal complaint names both women, although authorities have not identified which one he killed during Tuesday's rampage. A Tehama County judge signed the protective order against Neal for both women, and a felony criminal trial against him was set to begin next year. That he owned the weapons, again, is a mystery. The rifle was specifically called out as an illegal assault rifle in the criminal complaint, although it's unknown whether the same weapon was used during Tuesday's deadly shooting. Certain unmodified AR-15s are illegal under California law. So once again, crazily enough, here's a guy that obviously broke California firearms laws. So what they need to do is they need to have more firearms laws in California, right? We're not going to have that discussion. The discussion we're going to have is about soft targets, crazy people, and weaponry. Soft targets, where lots and lots of people gather in confined spaces with limited exits and are mandated by the people in charge to not find any way to defend themselves while they're in this particular venue. You go to an arena, or you go to some kind of stadium to watch an NFL football game, and you will not be allowed to carry a weapon inside the venue, which makes you a sitting flippin' duck. Same thing with NBA basketball, NHL hockey, college basketball. You are a sitting duck. You are a soft target. All someone has to do is smuggle weapons into the venue and start shooting. People are ingenious. People are ingenious at finding ways to kill each other. Somebody came up with the idea of getting a hotel room or two overlooking a concert venue in Las Vegas, Nevada. Did anyone think that someone was going to break the windows out of the Mandalay Bay Hotel and start shooting out those windows to try to kill people? Nobody thought of that. And that is what we have to discuss. If we, the people, are tired of shrill headlines talking about yet another mass shooting, then what we need to do is we need to make it impossible for mass shooters to be successful. How do you do that? In the case of the Las Vegas mess, what you do is you have people on balconies underneath the top edge of the grandstand so that nobody can see them, looking toward what is called a threat axis. A threat axis is where a threat could come from. And then you orient forces to defend against that threat. In that particular case, the only place a threat could come from in that venue would be the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Everything else was out of range. But John David, who would have thought that somebody would have broken windows to do that? Well, there's a balcony just up from where the shooter was that would have made a perfect firing location. As a matter of fact, I've been there. It's where the foundation room is. Yeah, it's nice. Had some Opus One wine and a fantastic Don Diego cigar up there. Truly enjoyed it. The view was tremendous. It's just fantastic. Living the high life. And so we have to take steps like that. We, the people, must begin to demand armed security for our schools and our public events, right? Telephone number 844-927-6691. Should we, the people, demand armed security for our schools and other public events? Yes. We should not present ourselves as soft targets under any circumstance whatsoever. No, not even in church. We live in that world. And it's not just America with lax gun laws that other people would say. It's anywhere in the world. It's anywhere in the world where there is a soft target. Great gun laws in Iraq and Syria. ISIS put even better gun laws in place in the ISIS caliphate. That way only they could have guns. And then they got really creative in their use. Wandering gangs of self-appointed tin god ministers of truth and science and whatever else they wanted to call themselves. Walking down the street, finding a woman who wasn't wearing a veil. They have an impromptu kangaroo court right there on the corner. And before you know it, somebody puts a revolver on top of her head and kills her on the spot. Why? Why did they kill her on the spot? Because she didn't have a .38 special tucked under her burqa, which is what you should have if you're wearing a burqa. And if somebody tries to start giving you garbage because you're not putting a veil across your face, shoot them in the nostril. This is the situation we find ourselves in. Charlie Hebdo. Somebody sitting in an office. Somebody runs in with rifles. Great gun laws in France. They meant absolutely nothing. Stand up, blow away, blood everywhere, dead people everywhere. We are not in a position where we, the people of the United States or any place else, can allow ourselves to stand in a place that could be considered a soft target. One of the great things about the United States is because we have a constitution that actually guarantees our constitutional rights. It's not such a bad thing to have a lot of police agencies around, and there are a lot of police agencies around. There is the county sheriff, there are constables, there are police officers from the metro area. There's highway patrol. Those are just the basic ones. They're all police officers. There are police departments in school districts, police departments for colleges. They add to the mix. There are lots and lots and lots of police officers around, and because they more or less respect our constitutional rights, we really don't have to worry about them being oppressors. They occasionally cross the line, but not often. We, the people of the United States, must demand that we have armed security for our schools, that we have armed security for our public events, because we live in a terror world. And it's time for us to realize that all of the legislation in the world is not going to solve the problem. What's going to solve the problem is good guys with guns. So when someone breaks the windows out of a hotel overlooking a concert venue, suddenly the hole in the glass is filled with flying hot lead to dispatch who would ever be shooting the other direction. This is the Wells Report on USA Radio Network.
All right, sir.
Hey.
So I'm keeping an eye out for the
Yeah.
thing.
Good. Good. I snared the sheriff.
So I just saw something where people are all mad because Shepard Smith did a little segment about Hillary or something.
Yes.
You see that?
Yep.
But people are all mad because, but you got to have somebody to counterbalance Hannity's show.
It's not just that. It's not just that. He
yeah, I'm just kidding.
He is correct. He's correct. Wait, hold on. Let's see.
I guess he did a long segment on Hillary or something.
Yeah.
Debunked far right's conspiracy theories about Hillary Clinton's alleged wrongdoing.
Well, but he can't debunk all of them.
No, he definitely can't.
I mean, because there's wrongdoing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, some people want Fox to be only a right wing. Some people want Fox to only say certain points.
Well, yeah, because they're trying to find a place where they can watch television and not hear things that upset them.
Yeah, yeah.
And then let's face it, most
That's not news though.
Most leftism is stock and trade. It's calculated to be annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't hear stuff that upsets you, it's probably not the real news though.
Well, and the thing about it is yeah, I mean a lot of it, and then there's the lying.
Yeah.
It's
crazy how divided everything is, man. Like, you can turn from one channel and turn to the other, and it's completely different.
Let's see, 10 millimeter and 40 caliber.
They're pretty similar.
What?
10 millimeter 40 cal.
Yeah, 10
They're
millimeters.
nice.
10 millimeters a lot more powerful round.
Oh, it is?
Oh yeah.
I thought they
Yeah.
were like similar in size, but maybe I'm wrong.
ballistics on paper and ballistics in reality are two different things.
Yeah.
Um,
I got a permit. I carry a 9mm, a Glock 19.
huh?
I got a permit. I carry a Glock 19 though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I carry my main squeeze has been this really cool Sig Sauer.
Here we go.
Yeah. You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691. We heard moments ago that indeed Judge Roy Moore is about to hold a press conference somewhere in Alabama. We'll find out more about that. That press conference is expected to start at the top of the hour. We'll bring it to you, if not in its entirety, certainly close to its entirety. And we'll bring that to you ASAP. We want to make sure that you understand what's going on with that story. Remember, Judge Roy Moore was accused of sexual misconduct, harassment, and perhaps even sexual assault some 40 years ago, anywhere between 35 and 40 years ago, when he was the deputy DA in Alabama. Now, please understand, he's been in public office for 40 years. He's been elected time and time and time again, including to a judgeship on the Alabama Supreme Court. Really? And suddenly, dauntless Washington Post reporters are able to come up with this evidence that he sexually harassed and sexually assaulted one woman. And I don't have any idea where that's coming from. He has denied the charges. He has said that in some cases he did not even know the woman involved, which does not surprise me. What's interesting, as far as I'm concerned, is nobody in the mainstream media is going to dig to the point where they find out just how much money these women were paid for their stories of horror at the hands of Judge Roy Moore. I'm really sorry. Please don't get me wrong. I don't want you to misunderstand me. I get the fact that women can be attacked. But I am sorry. If you are sexually assaulted in some way, if you are sexually harassed in some way, you don't get to wait 40 years before you complain about it. You just don't. I was trying to explain this to some female friends of mine. You know, they hear stories that most of these attacks don't go reported, or they go unreported. In that case, they didn't happen. If you are sexually assaulted, report it. Call 911. Have the police intervene. Because if you don't, then somebody who is actually an honest to goodness sexual assaulter, someone capable of a sex crime, is going to victimize somebody else. Nip it in the bud. Call the cops now. If somebody would have actually reported Judge Roy Moore, then life would be different in this nation. We wouldn't be dealing with any of this, because he would have been put away, or he would have ended his career long ago. If any of these things are true to begin with, which I doubt sincerely. I doubt sincerely that any of this is true. But Roy Moore is indeed theoretically going to talk to us at the top of the hour. We will carry the press conference live, and we will let you know exactly what's going on with Judge Roy Moore as we continue on this radio broadcast. One last thing. make sure that you do not stand in an area that could be considered a soft target. Find a way to defend yourself or cover yourself or what have you. You are listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network.
All right, so what were you telling me? You carry what now?
I carry a Sig Sauer P290 RS.
Oh, wow.
It's the coolest little pistol.
I bet so.
Oh, it's awesome, man.
Yeah,
It really is. It really is.
I hear a lot of good things about those.
It's really awesome.
I bought I got a permit to carry in Tennessee, but it's supposedly good here too, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably is.
But I probably will eventually get an Arizona one.
Let's see.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick, man. But we're watching out for Roy Moore too.
Fine. Can I hear the news?
Oh yeah, okay.
Continued effort to accomplish the three core objectives I outlined: to unite the world against North Korean nuclear threat, to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific region, and to advance fair and reciprocal economic relations with our trading partners and allies in the region.
President Trump at the White House earlier today. These his first comments since he returned home from his 12-day five-nation trip. President Trump also discussed trade in his press conference earlier today.
We have almost an $800 billion a year trade deficit with other nations. Unacceptable. We are going to start whittling that down, and as fast as possible.
President Trump did not comment on Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore. You're listening to USA Radio News. My name is Tim Berg.
Staples knows you can't afford to have your business slow down over the holidays. New customers aren't delivered down your chimney. You won't find new accounts in your stocking. No, just because it's the holidays doesn't mean you can stop marketing your company. So promote your business with eye-catching print materials like presentations, brochures, postcards, and promotional products from Staples. And now save 20% off print and marketing services orders of $50 or more. Sounds like you got at least one thing on your holiday list. Staples. It's pro time. Exclusions apply. Ends 12/2/17.
The New York Times #1 seller, Portraits of Courage by former President George W. Bush, is a vibrant collection of oil paintings and stories that honor the sacrifice and courage of America's military veterans. Available in a standard hardback edition, as well as a deluxe boxed edition signed by President Bush himself. Go to patriotdepot.com/Portraits of Courage to get yours today. Use coupon code USA Radio to save 10% off your entire order.
In a statement today at the White House, President Trump remarked that when the United States is confident in itself, other nations are confident in America as well. The president said he's also working on cleaning up past mistakes of previous administrations.
The challenges were inherited, and these products really showed what previous mistakes were made over many years and even decades by other administrations.
President Trump also talked about some new sanctions against North Korea.
Shortly following our visit, Japan announced additional sanctions on 35 North Korean entities and individuals.
3 UCLA basketball players arrested for shoplifting in China are thanking President Trump for helping him gain their release. Cordy Riley was the first to address reporters this afternoon.
To President Trump and the United States government, thank you for taking the time to intervene on our behalf.
All 3 basketball players did thank President Trump. You're listening to USA Radio News.
From the studio that brought you miracles from heaven and cloudy with a chance of meatballs comes The Star.
Hey, man, so it looks like they're just letting his attorney talk.
What?
It looks like they're just letting his attorney talk.
I can't hear you.
Oh, I said it looks like they're just letting Roy Moore's attorney talk.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay, you want me to play it now? I got it paused for when we come back.
Well, as long as it's being recorded.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it queued up for when we come back. Here's the last news segment.
That imposes harsh burdens on low and middle income taxpayers.
Oregon Democrat Ron Wyden warned about severe consequences for repealing the health care mandate in the Republican tax bill.
To pay for the handouts to multinational corporations, millions of Americans are going to lose their health care. Millions will see their premiums skyrocket.
The individual mandate penalizes those who don't sign up for health insurance.
A conservative TV host falling out with one of his advertisers has brought the benefits to a smaller, lesser-known company. USA Radio's Chris Barnes reports.
Keurig Coffee had pulled its ads from Sean Hannity's Fox TV show when its CEO took issue with some of what Hannity said about the Roy Moore allegations. Keurig and Hannity have since mended fences. But while it was away, Utah-based Black Rifle Coffee was being pushed as a Keurig alternative by several conservative voices. And its CEO, Evan Hafer, says it's made a difference in company sales.
We believe in high-quality coffee. We believe in supporting the Constitution. And we believe in empowering and employing veterans.
That's Hafer, who says the Salt Lake City company has seen sales go up 5% and traffic to its website skyrocket since the beginning of this week. For USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.
You are listening to USA Radio News. My name is Tim Berg.
All righty, we're back in 45 seconds.
45 dang seconds. 45 dang seconds. 45 dang seconds. I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, so I got the thing ready to play, and here we go.
North to south, coast to coast. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for listening to this broadcast. It appears as though that there is a press conference involving Judge Roy Moore. Judge Roy Moore is having a press conference. Let's join that in progress here on the Wells Report on the USA Radio Network.
Okay, we're going to toss to this now. Go ahead.
As you know, Judge Moore has been falsely accused of things that he did not do 40 years ago. This is a campaign, so you can expect most anything to come out, but, you know, we can't just stand by idly and let false charges go without some answering. We've had a lot of people tell us different things about some of these stories, and we're checking them all out. But one thing I can tell you is we do have some information that we're going to share with you today, and we know that you're going to share it with those folks that you're communicating with about some of these charges. I am Bill Armistead, chairman of the campaign for Judge Moore, and I want to introduce to you Philip Jareggi, who coincidentally was chairman of Judge Moore's campaign for Chief Justice back in 2000. That's right. He's an attorney, and he is representing us in this case, and I'd like now to turn this over to Mr. Jareggi, and he'll make some comments.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate y'all being here today. This is very important. Of course, there have been some serious allegations, and we really appreciate the media and what you guys do to help get the word out and spread the truth. Just as an aside, I've known Judge Moore for 24 years. When these allegations came out within the last week, it was incredibly painful for him, for his wife, his mom, his daughter, grandchildren. You know, in these types of cases, there's always someone who's alleging and the other person. And in those cases, when it's true, it's horrible for the person making the allegations. But when the allegations are made and it's not true, it's also horrible for the person who those allegations are directed against. Back in 2000, the Judge Moore asked me to be his campaign manager, campaign chairman, and it was one of the greatest honors and remains today and always will be one of the greatest honors of my life. During that time and afterwards, he asked me to be his attorney, and I was one of the attorneys that represented him in the 10 Commandments case. And as you know, there have been some other cases over the last 20 years. And I've traveled with Judge Moore all over the state, different states across the nation. I've been with him in probably over 100 different meetings and been around probably in excess of 10,000 different ladies in Judge Moore's presence. And not once, not one time have I ever seen him act even remotely inappropriate against any woman, toward any woman. Not when they were walking away, not when he and I were in private afterwards. That's the man that I know and that I've known for the last 24 years. Now, the allegations that have come out, I hope you understand, it takes time to work through this. We don't have a $20 million budget as a campaign. It takes time, and we want to be correct. We want to make sure that when we say something, it's proper. Okay, so we're still working through some things, but there are some things that you need to know and that we want to make you aware of. During the press conference that Ms. Nelson and Gloria Allred had on Monday, they both said that Ms. Nelson, after the allegations, had never seen nor had any contact with Judge Moore. As it turns out, in 1999, Ms. Nelson filed a divorce action against her then husband, Mr. Harris. Guess who that case was before? It was filed in Etowah County, and the judge assigned was Roy S. Moore, Circuit Judge of Etowah County. There was contact. Judge Moore signed an order in that case as well, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We've also had a handwriting expert looking at the evidence that was submitted. You may remember on Monday, Ms. Nelson and Ms. Allred, in support, really the only piece of evidence they had in addition to the allegations was a yearbook where they claimed that it had been signed. And they said very specifically, look back at what they said. Everything on that page they said was written by Judge Moore. Now, Judge Moore not only has denied everything she said before, but now flatly denies that. And he says it's not true. We have a handwriting expert, pardon me, that's looking at those. But here's the problem. A handwriting expert can't look at a copy on the internet, right? They've got to look at an original. So right now, Trent Garman, our attorney, has sent a letter or is sending a letter to Gloria Allred demanding that the yearbook be released. We'll send it to a neutral custodian who'll keep chain of custody, and our professional expert will examine it, and we'll find out, is it genuine or is it a fraud? There are a couple things also that you need to know. I'm not going to go into everything that's on that paper because, again, we need to have our handwriting expert draw some conclusions. I'm not going to draw them today, and I'm not going to make any allegations that we can't support with an expert. There are a couple things that you need to look at. Look at the 1977 after Merry Christmas. Look at those two sevens, and then look below at the 77. And I want to ask you, do you think it was written by the same person? I want you to look at Old Hickory House, which they say Judge Moore wrote. Judge Moore says there's no way in the world that's his handwriting. And I want you to look at it. Look at some other writing of his and make your own determination. That's what our expert will be doing. But for now, I'm asking you all to take a look. Use your judgment. And then finally, after Judge Moore's signature, it has the initials capital D period, A period. Remember I told you about that 99 divorce action. Judge Moore looked at that DA after his signature, which they allege was because he was the district attorney. Well, he wasn't. He was the assistant district attorney. But Judge Moore says he can't ever remember ever signing his name with DA after it, but he had seen it before. You know where he had seen it? When he was on the bench, his assistant, whose initials are capital D period, A period, Delbert Adams, would stamp his signature on documents and then put capital D period, A period. That's exactly how the signature appears on the divorce decree that Judge Moore signed, dismissing the divorce action with Ms. Nelson. Knowing these things, I've got a question, Gloria Allred and Ms. Nelson. Do you still hold that everything written in that yearbook was written by Judge Moore, or was it written by somebody else? That's not an allegation, it's a question. And finally, we demand that you immediately release the yearbook to a neutral custodian so that our expert, you can send your expert as well if you'd like to, so that our expert can look at it, not a copy on the internet, the actual document, so that we can see the lettering, we can see the ink on the page, we can see the indentations, and we can see how old is that ink. Is it 40 years old or is it a week old? Release the yearbook so that we can determine, is it genuine or is it a fraud? Thank you very much.
Mr. Jareggi, what do you say to the
I have some information I'll be happy to pass out to you guys. We have, first of all, you've probably seen a lot of this on the internet.
Please step up to the mic.
You've probably seen a lot of this on the internet. These are copies of what was shown by Mrs. Allred. I'll just let you all pass them out if that's okay. And also what we have here is the copy of the divorce papers, not the entire thing. We show the cover page, and then what's so important is we show the final page, which has Judge Moore's signature on it with the DA.
Sir, I have two quick questions. Are there
You
any
see, we have the Roy Moore signature here, and the DA, which was added by his assistant, the same DA initials that are written on the yearbook.
Bill, does Judge Moore plan to testify under oath like Ms.
And I'll be glad to start these on this side.
Sir,
And since this is a legal matter, the legal expert has
Why
spoken.
did Judge Moore say that he
Why aren't you answering
never
questions?
met her?
Thank you very much.
Why is anyone answering any questions?
Okay, and so there you have it. That is the press conference in total that that was just given by Roy Moore's spokesperson, his campaign chairman, and also his lawyer. And it's truly interesting that they have sourced what may be handwriting from Roy Moore that was used in a forgery. If that is the case, if that's the case, then just what exactly is going on here? My friends, there is serious trouble in this nation right now. And it has to do with the Senate of the United States. And it has to do with perhaps the Republican Party. But it certainly has to do with Judge Roy Moore and the Republican Party and the leaders of the Republican Party absolutely uninterested in having Roy Moore anywhere close to the United States Senate. Now, either the leaders of the Republican Party in the United States Senate are being manipulated like the rest of us by a third group, or we're on the brink of a political scandal that will make Watergate look like a third-rate burglary. This is a problem. If these people can actually source the handwriting, the pieces of handwriting that were used to cobble up this fake yearbook, if it is a fake yearbook entry, then you've got conspiracy. That's federal. This is bad. Now, I would expect a few things to happen pretty quickly. First of all, you're going to see the people of the Republican Party stop saying anything about anything. They are going to stop what they're saying. They're going to say, we were either caught or we're being played. One of those two things is happening. Now, this could be as simple as a political enemy in Alabama trying to make Judge Roy Moore look bad. Heaven knows the man has political enemies in Alabama. That is absolutely true. There's no doubt about it. But that the Republican Party would buy in on it and go all the way with it, all the way that they've gone, is at least disturbing. on so many levels. This is bad. What those lawyers just did is just blew the case wide open. And that's what it takes. That is what it takes. By the way, someone on the chat room of the YouTube live event that we're running right now, we're streaming the Wells Report. You can go to YouTube and you can punch in, what is it, the Wells Report, something like that. And you can find yourself enjoying this broadcast on video. Someone just said Allred is involved. Of course, the evidence is dubious at best. Well, Gloria Allred is who this person is talking about. It's quite possible that Gloria Allred is also being manipulated. What I would suggest is I would suggest that indeed what's going on is that there is a third agency here somewhere. What their motivations are, unclear. But I found it very, very interesting that Mitch McConnell stepped up to the plate many days ago and said, I believe the women. Why would he say that? How could he say that? Yeah, this is ugly. And this is not good. And we're all over it. This is the Wells Report.
All right.
Did you catch that?
That was pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
They actually sourced where the handwriting was that they took the samples from.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's crazy that he signed it DA. Like they say he never signed it DA. And
oh, if they turn that book over, and those things match up,
yeah,
the party is over.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Whoa. Yes, Yvonne, Watergate was a third-rate burglary. I'm proud of you. Very good.
Yeah, and it does make McConnell look kind of bad for just jumping out there and saying he believes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is where somebody's going, uh-oh. They're going to be running for cover. They're going to be running for cover immediately. Because they've got no place to hide. I mean, they're in trouble here.
Yeah, this whole thing is interesting, man. It's crazy how everything changes from day to day.
I mean, isn't it fascinating?
Yeah.
That this woman had this piece of paper and they used it.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody did try to fool. It seems like you could probably fool Gloria Allred pretty easy.
Well, Gloria Allred is not
the most reputable.
Well, she's not the most intelligent human being on the planet, but she's.
No, her and her daughter always take them high profile cases.
Wow. This is. Officer involved shooting. Okay. Not worried about that. Oh my God.
What's her daughter's name? Lisa. Oh, there it is. Lisa Bloom.
This is conspiracy, man.
Oh yeah. You definitely. If I would be super mad if I was a resident of Alabama.
Oh, I would. Hang on a minute here. Let me listen to this again.
So, Greg, what you were just saying before about voters in Alabama being able to hold two ideas in their head. Maybe one of those ideas, yes, Roy Moore may have done inappropriate things with young girls.
All right, here we go, man. Back in 10 seconds.
You're listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. We are shaking our heads at the information that was just given by a spokesperson and the lawyer representing Judge Roy Moore of Alabama. What happened is moments ago, the attorney for Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore defended his clients against allegations of sexual misconduct. Philip Jauregui, I'm sorry, I didn't get its pronunciation. Jauregui, Jauregui, I guess, says he has never seen Judge Moore act inappropriately against any woman in the 24 years he's known him. He's also questioning claims by lawyer Gloria Allred that Moore signed a high school yearbook belonging to one of his accusers. He called on Allred to turn over the yearbook to a neutral party so that the handwriting experts can examine the writing. This is something that Gloria Allred is going to have to do because this is a reasonable request of discovery. No judge would say no. Allred is going to have to turn that yearbook over. If they indeed are able to turn that yearbook over to a neutral party to maintain the chain of evidence, and if indeed they have the actual writing, the actual signature that was given by Judge Roy Moore on a divorce decree involving the same woman, if they are able to source the actual handwriting that was used to forge that high school book entry, then there are going to be people going to prison everywhere. Because this is conspiracy. This is a federal crime at this point. It's truly amazing that the attorneys in question were able to actually source what may be the basis of the forgery. If that's the case, this is huge. Because then you have to start going back and start asking things like, so exactly who would lose the most under the circumstances of Judge Roy Moore being elected? There would be momentum for Steve Bannon's fight against mainstream, middle-of-the-road, moderate Republican senators, which was declared by Steve Bannon of Breitbart, which means the Republican Party would have a lot on the line. Or someone else that had something to either gain or lose based on Roy Moore being turned aside from the Republican caucus in the United States Senate. So now what we're trying to figure out is just exactly what all this means. One of the people on the chat room, Stephen Popel. Stephen, by the way, thank you. Welcome. Good to have you here. To be fair, would we be shocked that a Democrat would plant false evidence to intimidate a Republican? Oh, wait, that happened with Hillary and Trump and the Russian golden showers thing. He's discussing the supposed dossier of incriminating events and incriminating evidence against Donald Trump. And so yeah, there's all kinds of precedent here. But why Roy Moore? Why Roy Moore? Remember, Joe Biden did not run for president in 2016 because of the bare knuckle brawling politics of Hillary Clinton and the fact that her opposition research would go too deep for Joe Biden's taste. And he just wouldn't put his family through that. So what we have here is we have some very serious questions. Because this is not just trying to besmirch the reputation of Judge Roy Moore at this point. This is a calculated attempt to keep somebody duly elected in the state of Alabama out of the United States Senate. And using fraudulent and salacious false charges to make it happen. This is bad. What are your thoughts? Give us a call, 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. This is the Wells Reports on the USA Radio Network. Back in just a moment.
All right.
Well, we broke the news that time, boys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, all that political stuff is crazy, man.
What do you think?
We probably don't even know the half of like what.
I mean,
really
what?
goes on.
It's like, what do you think?
Yeah, man.
I mean, this is like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, man. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Like, you know, you get the feeling them guys kind of think of the Senate as like a crust above. Like, you know, you think like the Senate, they think of it as like a little bit better than the House or something. I don't know why, but
Well, they think it's the world's greatest deliberative body.
yeah, you know, like that, and so that you know that the like McConnell and them don't want him in there.
Wow. Man.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Holy Krappenstein.
I think we're going to see a lot of stuff under Donald Trump's presidency because everybody's so divided. Like, you know,
Well,
they love him.
Well, the thing about it is this, is that since Donald Trump has been in the political scene,
Yeah,
there have been people he has exposed group after group after group after group. He exposed all those moderate Republicans right off the bat. Then he exposed the press.
yeah,
Then he started exposing all these players. I mean, it's like, seriously?
yeah.
Wow.
I watched a documentary the other day about like younger people that are conservative and like helped a movement that kind of helped elect him, and they were like, man, we basically just wanted somebody to shake everything up and get in there, and because everything's so messed up right now, just wanted to get somebody in there to you know, wipe out all the, you know, drain the swamp essentially.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. Wow. Unflipping believable.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yikes almighty.
So you got 1 minute. I'll be back in 10 seconds.
You are listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number again is 844-927-6691. Explosive information this afternoon. A press conference from Roy Moore's attorney, Supreme Court Justice Roy Moore, Supreme Court of the state of Alabama, is running for the United States Senate. And from what we understand, there are some very serious things that just came out in this press conference. For example, apparently there is a divorce decree that has the exact same signature that was used in the yearbook entry. In other words, if you can take that signature from the divorce decree and you can take the signature from the yearbook and match them up, if they match exactly, it's a forgery. If it's a forgery, that's conspiracy. If it's conspiracy, all kinds of very seriously bad things start happening immediately. Like you got to start wondering just exactly who it is that's working behind the scenes to create a mess for Judge Roy Moore. This is breaking news. It's very serious business. The implications are stark, and they are grave for the nation. Because this is interference in the elective process of a senator of the United States with the possibility of a complete disenfranchisement of the voters of Alabama in electing the person they want in office. Who is involved in trying to get Roy Moore out of that office? Republican Senate leadership, the mainstream media, Democrats, of course. Well, who has the most to gain? Who has the most to lose if Roy Moore makes it to the United States Senate? Would it be Democrats? No, because a Republican was in that office. So who would lose the most? Well, it would be Republicans. At first blush, you would think that maybe a conspiracy rests with them. The only other real source for that conspiracy would be a political enemy in the state of Alabama against Roy Moore. The smoking gun piece of evidence is that yearbook. If that yearbook and the signatures on the divorce decree match up, there are going to be people going to jail all over the country. Here's the latest reporting on it. The attorney for Alabama State Senate candidate or Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore is defending his clients against allegations of sexual misconduct. Philip Jerigui says over the years he's been with Moore and in the presence of many, many women. Hang on just a second. Wait, hold on. I'll get that sound for you here.
And not once, not one time have I ever seen him act even remotely inappropriate against any woman.
He also questioned claims by lawyer Gloria Allred that Moore signed a high school yearbook belonging to one of the accusers. He called on Allred to turn over the yearbook to a neutral party so that handwriting experts can examine the writing. Here he is talking about it one more time.
We'll send it to a neutral custodian. We'll keep chain of custody, and our professional expert will examine it, and we'll find out, is it genuine or is it a fraud?
He also questioned, let's see, let me double check to make sure this, oh yeah, here we go. The attorney says the woman accusing Moore of sexual assault had further contact with him after the alleged incident.
As it turns out, in 1999, Ms. Nelson filed a divorce action against her then husband, Mr. Harris. Guess who that case was before? It was filed in Etowah County, and the judge assigned was Roy S. Moore, circuit judge.
Circuit Judge Roy S. Moore. He said that he had never seen Moore, though we've already played that one. The reason that that's important is because the signature on the divorce decree may be the same signature that is purported to be on the yearbook. So who is this woman who is filing this sexual assault complaint? Where did she come up with this complaint? Did she supply the yearbook? Who did she supply the yearbook to? Who had the yearbook when all of a sudden this signature appeared? One of two things is going to happen. Either that yearbook is going to show up in a neutral party, or it's going to be suddenly lost in a fire. If you had to push me to bet on one of those eventualities, I would say that the yearbook is about to get lost. Because if it doesn't get lost, and if they're able to prove that that's the same signature on the divorce decree and on the yearbook, it's going to explode. Wow. Now, the question is, normally under circumstances like this, I would say that this would be all over the papers tomorrow. But I'm betting that's not going to be the case. And the reason I'm betting that's not going to be the case is because there's an awful lot of embarrassed people looking around at each other tonight. One of them would be Mitch McConnell, unless he's involved in it. Just exactly why was it so many days ago he said, you know what, I believe the women? Why did he say that? Who told him that there was real proof, that there was some misconduct going on? Who told him that? Whoever it is part of the conspiracy. Or at least knows somebody who's part of the conspiracy. Why is there a conspiracy to begin with? Why is this such a big deal? Is this a Soros thing? Why would it be a Soros thing? Is this somebody else? Would this be some big money concern of the Republican Party? Would this be a Republican show? Would it actually be a circumstance where, the Republican Party doesn't want anybody that would support President Trump in the United States Senate? Is that where all this ends up? Look at the lengths that they went to besmirch this man. Look at the lengths that they went to. This is not a good thing. This is a very, very bad thing. What's interesting to me is the surety at which this was all executed. Nobody thought for any reason whatsoever that anybody get caught. Just exactly how ingenious is that lawyer in Alabama, this Philip Jerigui guy? Just how ingenious is this dude? Oh, by the way, if you look at these two signatures, they're the same signature. the greatest lawyer in the world, Mark Risman, a dear friend of mine in Nevada, would go, got him. You got him. So here's what I would suspect. I would suspect that the yearbook suddenly vanishes in a fire. I would suspect that all of the nasty things that are being said by about Judge Roy Moore will stop as if they never existed in the first place. I suspect that Mitch McConnell will murmur something along the lines of, we'll just let the legal process play out at this point. There's nothing much that we can do. I would suspect that Judge Roy Moore is going to win the election. I would suspect that he's going to get seated in the United States Senate. And I would expect that after that, somebody's worst nightmare will come true. Because if I was Judge Roy Moore and I was put through all of this stuff, I'd find out who was responsible. I'd find out who was responsible, and I would follow it all the way to the end. And I'd turn the whole case over to Jeff Sessions, and I'd say, Jeff, you got some work to do. Because that's where all this is going to end up. What are your thoughts? 844-927-6691. You can't just sit there. You cannot just sit there and say, well, I don't know. This is huge. This is a huge situation here. And I am very much interested in hearing just exactly who's going to say what next. Telephone number again is 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. I'm reasonably sure that these lawyers would not bring this up if they weren't sure that that's exactly what happened. I'm very much interested in seeing just exactly who's responsible for all of this. I want to know who these faceless people are, although I bet you they're headed for the tall grass in some other country, even as we speak. I bet you that some very expensive one-way international tickets are being purchased right this moment. The intrigue is palpable. This is awful. Somebody said earlier that if I was somebody in Alabama, if I was a voter in Alabama, I would be so angry at this point, I don't know what I would do. Can you imagine just exactly how those people feel now? All these carpetbagging jerks coming from the walls from the Washington Post, these carpetbagging jerks come down from north of the Mason-Dixon line to try to tell you that you've got a guy who's a Supreme Court justice and, oh, by the way, just happens to sexually assault teenagers. Whoever came up with this last woman, this Gloria Allred client, whoever came up with that last woman, thought they really had something there. Because if they could put something that was at least halfway credible, that would lend credibility to the other four women. 3 of those women didn't have anything to complain about. The 4th woman said, as soon as she said that she was uncomfortable with what was going on, he took her home. Did not say anything about sexual assault. I'm still really concerned about that story insofar as he picked her up around the corner from her house, drove her 30 miles, which would take at least 30 minutes, into the woods, which means it's probably a rural place to go, which means it probably took longer. So let's assume 45 minutes. So it's an hour and a half of driving time all by itself. Somebody's going to let their 14-year-old daughter get in a car with a strange man and be gone for an hour and a half, at least. More like 2 or 3 hours. How long does it take for a 14-year-old to get uncomfortable in the house of a 32-year-old? What, 10, 15 seconds? And nobody asked her about it? Here's the DA of some Alabama town and nobody's asking, or deputy DA? Nobody said anything. And now we have possible fraud, forgery, conspiracy. Oh my. You're listening to the Wells Report. Back in a moment.
All right, man. Time's flying by.
What do you think? I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely shocked. I'm sitting here going, holy criminy.
Yeah.
Holy criminy, this is a big deal.
Oh, yeah, it is. I'm kind of glad that I don't have to vote in that election.
I mean, gosh, what are they going to do in Alabama? They're going to be some mighty angry people there.
Because it's like coming up like almost a month to the election. Like they're constantly coming out with stuff every day.
Yes.
It's crazy, man.
Are you listening to me, Tony Miller? Tony Miller, are you listening to this broadcast right this moment? Did you just say, oh my? Because I said that off the air. Are you watching on the video feed? Don't leave, you nefarious reprobate. Talk to me. Tony Miller, are you there? Wait a minute. Hang on. Gosh, can you imagine PM Moore? Yeah, PM Moore may well win a landslide after these false charges. They absolutely will. I mean, gosh, can you? Oh, man. This is incredible. Wow. Actually, Redcap, a photo edit would be obvious. They'd have to be a fake handwritten copy. What they would do is they would project it onto the page. And in that case, the signature would be absolutely identical. And in that case, it would be an absolute fraud, an absolute forgery. Gosh, how lucky were those lawyers to be able to actually source change in venue. Yikes, I'd forgotten. Yes, 6. Change in venue, Lazy Dog Addison. Do-do-do-do-do. The pen strokes wouldn't look right, even so the ink would give it away. These people are in trouble. These people were in trouble. They are in serious, horrifyingly terrible trouble. Wow. Wow.
All right, coming back in 30 seconds.
Yep. A new Democrat impeachment push. What?
All right, here we go.
You're listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number again is 844-927-6691. Tell people about this show. We're doing important work on this broadcast. This is the only interactive news broadcast you've ever heard. And it's on every day on the USA Radio Network. Join us. Join us. 844-927-6691. I just found out, I guess it was yesterday. I found out that I was not named as People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive. This has been something that I have kept track of for years, insofar as I believe that there is clearly collusion taking place against me. And I'm very concerned about it. Obviously, you know, it's a very, very sad state of affairs when it's obvious that I should be the sexiest man alive. That I, for whatever reason, keep getting cut out of my absolute deserved title in this nation. I'm shocked, in fact. Let me see if I can figure out exactly. Let's see, teen people, celebrity, sexiest man alive, benchmark, the origin of the title. Okay, 1985. So it's 32 years old. So I've been, that means that I should have won. Let's see, I would have been 27 years old. And I'm shocked. And so the only thing that I can do, but because I am indeed a student of the game, is kind of ask you. I need to ask you why it is that I am not People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive. Can you help me with this? Is there something I'm missing? And if so, what is it? I mean, I can take it. I mean, let me know, because I don't understand. And of course, most of the people who know me, they can't understand either why it is that I have missed being People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive for 32 years. I'm thunderstruck here. And so I would very much like for you to share what it might be that is keeping me from winning this title that I richly deserve. Telephone number is 844-927-6691. Is it because I'm a conservative? Is there a political component to it? You know, that's the Hollywood crowd. I don't know that I'd be popular there. It isn't a morals thing. Let's see. Arletta says it's because I don't wear skinny leg jeans. I can't wear skinny leg jeans. I have massive, muscular, incredibly masculine, very sexy thighs. I can't wear skinny jeans. Can someone help me? Why is it that yet again, this time 2017, that I am not People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive? I need to know. But I really do believe that there's some kind of, speaking of conspiracies, I think there's a conspiracy afoot. Can't be anything that I would sign in anybody's yearbook. Well, there might have been a few things. Can't be. You're listening to the Wells Report. Our executive producer is the Philip Brown. I'll see you tomorrow for another show. Stay put.
All righty, man. Good show.
Why, thank you.
All right, and you gotta get you some skinny jeans, man.
Skinny jeans? I can't wear skinny jeans.
No, if you have muscular, like
Big
legs,
muscular thighs.
all the more reason to get skinny jeans.
Manly, big thighs. I got great. Stand up and model those sexy legs for us. I can do this. Look at this. Look at this leg. Look at this massive leg. It's gigantic.
I'm just messing with you, man.
All right, man. Thank you. All right, Michael. Have yourself a great day, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You too, man. Good show. We'll see you back tomorrow.
They're not hairy, Ron. Ron Taylor said that my hairy legs. No, they're not hairy. Well, I mean, they're hairy, but I've shaved them before.
Not overly so.
No, they're not overly hairy. I mean, I don't have nasty, hairy, terribly nasty, hairy legs. You know, why is everybody saying goodbye? Everybody everybody's saying goodbye now. Where are you going?
I don't know, man. All right, man. Have a good one, man.
All right, even you. Now you're leaving. Hello?
All right, man. See you.
Damn it. I'm really upset. All right. Yes, give us manly legs. Put JD in skinny jeans and his voice will go up 2 octaves. No, it won't. Let's see. I'm glad you're on YouTube. I will watch if I miss a show. Thank you, Stephen. Are you new? Stephen, are you brand new here? Is this your first show or whatever? Tell me. Oh. Hi, Yvonne. Love you, darling. Sweet Evie. Evie. Steve? Did you leave? Did you leave, Steve? Did you leave, Steve? Did you split? He must have. All right. Well, there you go. I wanted to ask Steve dang it. Oh, here we go. I watched The Answer. We listened. Eek. Eek? Eek? Eek. Okay, well, Steve, okay, fine. I'm glad you watched. And so on. I'm going to leave now. I'm really amazed here, and I will talk to you later. Okay? So, peace, love, joy.